Yes. Oh, he did it to us too. It was awesome.
It's called Senior Moments. Okay. All right, here we go. John Stehly was born in 1922 in the Anaheim Sanitarium, which served as a local community hospital in the 1920s. He grew up in Anaheim on a 40-acre chicken and citrus farm. He was the oldest of 13 children in a traditional Roman Catholic family. He helped out on the farm as a young man and had an assortment of pets. He enjoyed hunting and fishing and was accomplished in both. He attended Loyola High School in Los Angeles, where he would stay during the week and then take the electric rail car home on the weekends to help out on the farm. John lettered in football, track, and baseball, but he loved football the most. After high school, he went on to Loyola University, where he continued to excel in the sciences and in football, and he gained fame as the quarterback for the Loyola Lions. John's motivation to become a physician was the onset of World War II, when he decided to serve as a doctor both during and after the war. He signed up for the Navy at the end of his junior year at Loyola University. However, instead of attending classes at Loyola during his senior year, the Navy transferred him to the USC Medical School to start his medical training early because of the urgent need for doctors. During medical school, Jack started dating Janelle McDonald, the daughter of a physician who lived in Los Angeles. Janelle attended Mount St. Mary's College, where she met Jack at a college social. Janelle knew of Jack before she actually met him because the Loyola Lions football team, their games, were regularly broadcast live over a number of the LA radio stations. In those days, the Loyola Lions were as popular as the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, and they had a significant fan base in Southern California.
Cool.
Jack and Janelle were married at St. Brendan's Church in Los Angeles in 1946. After graduating from USC Medical School, Jack began an internship at Los Angeles County General Hospital and chose to specialize in obstetrics and gynecology. In his youth, he had helped deliver many livestock on his family farm, but faith and family were the most important things in his life, and he considered OBGYN a family-centered specialty. Following his internship, Jack was assigned to the Long Beach Naval Hospital, which is currently the Veterans Hospital in Long Beach, where most of his patients were the wives of naval officers. After completing his residency at Long Beach Naval Hospital, he began working with the Sisters of St. Joseph at St. Joseph Hospital in Orange. I love the picture of the sister watching him very, very closely. In 1957, he and his growing family moved into a home in Fullerton that was less than a mile away from the new hospital being built there. John attended the hospital dedication and has been practicing here and practiced there for 46 years. The hospital had a strong Catholic philosophy with good religious and moral and ethical policies. There was this entertaining chaplain by the name of Father Lawrence Smith and an excellent administrator, Sister Jane Francis Powers. John, or Jack as he was being more commonly known by then, said that she was tough like an army drill sergeant, but also very compassionate. When only 4 of their children had been born, John and Janelle purchased a home in Fullerton, just a mile away from the hospital, before St. Jude had even opened their doors. Initially, their property spread over 3 acres, and Jack was able to raise cattle in his expansive backyard. When the parcel of land was reduced in size due to other homes being built, he moved his herd to a fenced corral by the Brea Dam. Unfortunately, the cows often got out of their enclosure and wandered over to the front lawn of St. Jude Hospital to feed on the lush green grass. So periodically, Sister Jane Francis would have to call him up and ask him to come over into the hospital to retrieve his wandering cattle. John was a charter member of the OBGYN Society of Orange County, the first North Orange County medical specialist and the first OBGYN physician to set up a practice at St. Jude Hospital. He served on the St. Jude Review Board for surgery and cancer and is a fellow with ACOG. He delivered thousands of babies, was a strong pro-life supporter, and performed volunteer work with the Less Than Act Clinic. He established an OB/GYN partnership with Doctors Molitar and Whiting in an office located in the original Valencia Mesa building. He was known as the baptizing obstetrician because he always carried a small bottle of holy water with him during his deliveries and surgeries. If a baby was at risk of dying or was stillborn, he would always take out his holy water and baptize the baby. He not only brought thousands of new lives into the world, he also helped a number of little saints go to heaven. Janelle was eventually able to join her husband in serving at St. Jude Hospital as a volunteer with the St. Jude Guild, and she devoted many hours in supporting our patients. In the mid-1960s, the Stehlys purchased a statue, a marble statue of Our Lady of Grace, and John designed a special grotto in their Fullerton backyard. That statue remained as a center point of their home until after both Jack and Janelle had passed away, and their children, gathered here tonight, decided to donate it to St. Jude Medical Center, where it now stands at our Valencia Mesa entrance. And I think it's a very fitting location since that's where the cattle had grazed and where both John and Janelle had walked into the hospital for all those many years together. Eventually, the high cost of medical malpractice led John to close his office and focus his efforts on performing surgical assists. He became known as Dr. Donut because of his he made visits to the labor and delivery nurses station, and he always brought boxes of donuts for the nurses, encouraging them to keep him in mind if a doctor ever needed an assist. In 2010, he passed away from Alzheimer's at age 87. He had lived a very full and a very productive life. He had a faithful and loving wife for 63 years, and they had 7 children: Janine Bland, Mary Adamo, Roseanne Walswick, Jeffrey Stehly, Carolyn Stehly, John T. Stehly, and Ann Bailash, and 10 grandchildren. He loved his family, his garden, and his medical practice. He was a devoted and committed Roman Catholic, and he remained physically active throughout his entire life and was always a strong supporter of the Sisters of St. Joseph and St. Jude Hospital. Dr. Jack Stehly was well loved and respected by his family and everyone who had the opportunity to work with him. And so tonight, I would invite his son, John, to come forward and accept an award from Brian on behalf of St. Jude Medical Center.
Well, my father would be extremely proud of this, as he was proud of St. Jude's Hospital. My father had a plan all his life. Everything was planned out. And when he was at St. Joseph's Hospital in the 1950s, he heard that there would be a new Catholic hospital in North Fullerton. And because he was a man with a plan, he was already looking for a house near the site where the hospital would be built. And he, being his profession of obstetrics and gynecology, and the hours were around the clock, he wanted to be close to the hospital. My mom would tell a funny story of him getting calls in the middle of the night. He was a heavy sleeper. My mom was an extremely light sleeper. The phone would ring. He would automatically answer it. He'd sit up in bed and he'd put the phone to his ear, and then he'd say nothing. And she was half awake, and she'd hit him and say hello. Because she could hear the nurse on the other side of the phone anyway. But, and as a family, growing up, father that he had 3 priorities in his life. His faith was number 1, his family was number 2, and his medical profession. It wasn't just the medical profession, it was family-centered delivering babies. That was huge. And he couldn't have, again, the man with a plan, he couldn't have timed it better, because he became actually one of Orange County's first specialties in obstetrics and gynecology. But before that, when he was out in LA, imagine starting out a career in obstetrics and gynecology right at the end of the Second World War and the beginning of the baby boom. You know, he used to say, he'd joke with my mom that he was going to put on his catcher's mitt and go catch babies. He lived right across the street when he was doing his internship at the county hospital. They lived literally across the street. And she would rarely see him because he was practically living at the hospital. So she said she'd pack a lunch for them, and she'd go and sit at a bench on the floor that she thought he was working at, and she might see him go by with a gurney, and sometimes he would sit and have lunch with her. But they had a beautiful marriage, and our family was so lucky to have such wonderful parents. And my mom was extremely supportive of his career, and she was busy with the 7 of us. And like I said, he loved St. Jude's Hospital. He had some wonderful doctor friends, and especially towards the latter part of his career, he used to live for his phone or his beeper to go off, and instead of dreading it, like, oh, I go to the hospital, I got a surgical assist, and it just made his day, and he loved that. And especially, I used to ask him, because I said, these are much younger doctors that are calling you, that, be like your son or even your grandson. He loved it. They were out of medical school, and they would ask him questions, and he was very proud with his experience. And he could say, well, you might this, and I've seen this before, and he just loved that. So he would be very proud of this, and in honor of him, I thank you for this wonderful award.
Thank you, John. So we're going to have the dinner served at this point in time, and then we'll come back after the dinner with some additional awards, and Brian will have an opportunity, as I said, to give you a little bit of an update in terms of the medical center at that time. So thank you. Enjoy your meal.